Hey guys, I want to welcome you back to another episode on J of All Trades. Today I'm starting an exciting project that myself and my wife wanted to do for a while now. And as you can see, I'm walking into a very dated bathroom here. We actually purchased our home about 3 years ago, and this is how the bathroom was when we purchased. And this is the original bathroom from 1939. We could tell that a couple things were changed here and there, but for the most part, there's a lot of original parts in here. Like for instance, this toilet is original, leaving out the American Standard seat, of course, because I got that changed as soon as I moved in. And then we have a tub here that is cast iron. Yes, that's right. That's a cast iron tub that was originally there when they built this bathroom. And so there's a lot of little quirks in here that you can notice that is very dated, but we're gonna gut this entire bathroom and I want to get rid of all this stuff. So I'm going to show you guys exactly how I'm going to do that today. Behind the door here, you're going to notice there's a built-in niche here on the wall, and we want to just get rid of that, and we're going to put fresh sheetrock and everything on the wall there. So we're going to get started here, and we're going to start ripping out all these tiles, all these little quirky things on the wall, and just get rid of everything that is outdated, and we're going to start a new project. The first thing that I started with here is the sink, and of course I shut off the hot and cold water supply right here. And here I'm noticing that the speedy hoses are brittle and they are very old. So I don't even know how they survived this long. Next, you want to just loosen out all these connections here on the U-trap, and you want to do this before attempting to take off the sink. Now this sink is made out of cast iron, and it's actually hanging on a bracket in the back. So the sink was actually installed before the tile was installed. So I'd have to remove this top section of tile here in order to lift the sink upward to get it off of its bracket. And here you can see I'm struggling to lift this thing because it's so heavy. Solid cast iron. The next thing I did was I just started removing all the tiny little things that I could to get rid of them and get it out of my way so that I'll be able to maneuver in taking apart the wall. This is the first bathroom that I've seen so pink, and also I've never seen a combination of pink and green before. Very interesting combination. Now here I'm just taking off all of these brackets here that were holding the shower door, and I'm just basically ripping them out. I'm not really concerned about breaking the tiles because all the tiles have got to go. It's always a fun thing to rip things out of the wall, especially when you're not really concerned about preserving it. It's almost therapeutic. After removing most of the smaller things, I began breaking the tile with a hammer and a pry bar. And I first began breaking it this way to see how well it will work. And then later on, you'll see that I've switched up and started using all different types of tools. You'll notice that I'm using this beat up tote here to just throw garbage in there. And it helps me to just haul that stuff out really easy. Here I'm just removing a little bit of electrical stuff before I start breaking pieces off the wall. And of course, you want to take your time when you're going around those outlets and those switches. But for the most part, this is coming off pretty easy. It's all 1/2-inch sheetrock. In order to get to the rest of the wall in the back here, I have to remove this toilet. And so I just basically removed the 2 screws that were holding the bottom there. Always remember to shut the water supply to those things before you take them apart. And here I'm just basically working my way around all of the piping and just ripping everything else out now that the toilet is out of the way. You're going to notice that I'm using a crowbar, and then I switched over to a sledgehammer because the sledgehammer actually started breaking this stuff a lot easier than the other tools. But every tool has its purpose, and I'm just having fun. You'll see that I'm wearing gloves and also a mask, and that's because this gets really dusty. These tiles are also really sharp and they can cut you really badly, so just make sure that you're wearing all the protective gear that you can. This is also worth mentioning. You'll notice that I'm not going too crazy with the sledgehammer because I don't know exactly what's behind the walls, and so I'm not going full force with the sledgehammer. I'm basically just using the weight of the sledgehammer to help me break the wall, and it makes it a lot easier. One thing that I noticed is that there was no insulation on the part of the wall at the toilet. And that's strange because that's an outside wall there and there's no insulation in there. When contractors fail to put insulation in the wall where they need to be, the home is not going to be as efficient when it comes to heating. And so it's very important for that to happen. So I'm going to definitely put insulation where it belongs when I rebuild this. So this piece here is at the shower and the tub. And it's basically just ripping everything out, using the sledgehammer to break everything up, and then using my hands to just pull it off. And I found this to be the easiest and best way so far to do this because I've used all different types of tools here. And if you notice, there is a little bit of water penetration there that took place. And as you can see, that sort of looks a little moldy there. So you want to keep your eye out for those sort of things. You may or may not need to replace that piece of sheetrock depending on the amount of damage. Here I'm working on the side with the shower head, and you just want to be extremely careful here with the sledgehammer or any other tool, because this is where all your water lines are running behind this wall, and you don't want to go too crazy breaking off things. You want to make sure you take your time and then start prying things apart. Of course, I do have the water lines isolated, so just in case something breaks, I do have the water isolated there and I'm not going to get showered. So here I'm just going all the way around the top edge to get all of this stuff off. The next thing I'm doing here is I'm removing this old shower kit here, and I'm just removing this small piping because we're going to repipe everything here and put a new kit. And as you can see, this stuff is really old and it's just really worn out. It's time to get rid of this tub. Now, the predicament here is that this is a cast iron tub. This thing can be 400 or 500 pounds. So I'm gonna actually take a sledge and start breaking it apart. And I'm telling you guys, this is probably the easiest thing to do if you don't have 3 or 4 other guys to help you lift this thing out. So what I'm doing is I'm basically using good old-fashioned muscle here, and I'm breaking this thing into pieces so that I can load it up and take it out of here. Now, even these little pieces are heavy. You just want to pick and choose exactly where you hit it, and then you're going to keep breaking until it all starts coming apart here. Now, just keep in mind you want to wear your full protective gear. Now that means wearing boots, gloves, ear protection, eye protection, and your mask. And not to mention, you really want to put on some long sleeve stuff here because there's insulation and all kinds of dust just flying around in this room. And when it gets to your skin, it will irritate your skin. One advice I can give you here is that you want to take breaks in between doing this. You don't want to keep going because you'll tire yourself out. So you just want to take your time, take a few hits and break a few pieces off, and then take a rest and come back at it again. I also have to admit, breaking this stuff is kind of therapeutic in a way. After I was done with the tub, I started taking the ceiling apart, and this sheetrock is extremely thin. I discovered that the sheetrock up here is actually 1/4 inch. I don't know why the contractor chose to do that, but as I was taking this off, the entire piece of ceiling came down, and I realized that maybe only 1 or 2 nails were holding this thing up. And yes, you heard me right. They used nails to secure sheetrock, and that is not the best choice. The best choice would be screws. The next thing I did was I got rid of these light fixtures here, and of course you want to make sure that the power is off. Alright guys, we've gotten this whole thing gutted, and as you can see, we've only got piping and wiring left in the walls. We chose to leave the tile on the floor because we're going to be putting luxury vinyl plank on top of that. And we noticed, of course, the missing insulation in the walls over there, and so we're definitely going to correct that problem as well. So we went from this all the way to this. So we're all prepped here and set, so we can start building everything out. And I want you guys to stay tuned because I'll have more episodes coming up where I'm going to show you exactly how I'm going to build a brand new bathroom in here. So if you like content like this one, please remember to like and subscribe to my channel so you can continue to get more videos like this one. And I'll see you guys on the next one.